welcome to this week's edition of CEO Corner. I'm Otis Rawl, President and CEO of the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, and I'm happy to have with me Senator Lindsey Graham, the Senior Senator from South Carolina, with us today, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that are being debated at the federal level and how they could impact South Carolina and the businesses operating in South Carolina. So, Senator, welcome.
Glad to be with you. Glad to be home, Otis. Thanks.
Well, I know that you just came back from China and Japan.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit of what you saw over there and how it compares to what's going on in the United States and how it can impact businesses in South Carolina?
Well, we do live in a global economy. You know, this housing market problem, a lot of these mortgage-backed securities were sold throughout the world, so a lot of debt holders of American debt live overseas. China is the #1 holder of American debt. The Chinese and Japanese economy were worse than I thought, so I think the recovery here is going to be affected by the Asian economy, which was about every other building in Tokyo was empty. So it's going to be a while before they get back on their feet. Exports in China, their biggest revenue raiser, is down by 50%. So until Asia can recover and Europe can recover, it's going to be hard for us to do it by ourselves. So it made me think that the recovery is going to take longer than I thought.
Well, I know that everybody says things happen in the first 100 days after a new president's installed. Well, we're through about 60 days now.
Yeah.
We've seen what's happened in the first 60 days. What do you see happening in the next 40 to 100 days in Washington?
Well, I'll give the Obama administration sort of a mixed grade here. On foreign policy, Iraq and Afghanistan, I think the president's been very responsible to commit more troops to Afghanistan. We need them, and not to just pick up and leave in Iraq, so I'm pleased on that front. Iran and North Korea, the missile test was conducted while I was over in Asia. That's a big threat to international stability. On the economic front, the stimulus package was $787 billion, with interest is $1.1 trillion. It's going to add a lot to our national debt at a time we can't afford much more. We had a chance, I thought, in a bipartisan fashion, to cut taxes, spend money in Washington on infrastructure projects that would help create jobs. We went way too far, so I voted against the stimulus package. The omnibus bill to fund the government through October the 1st was an 8% increase in federal spending. So those two bills together have added a lot to the national debt. The Obama budget triples the deficit and adds trillions to the debt without any reform of Social Security or Medicare. So on the financial side, I don't give him too high marks, but I hope that if we talk about climate change, and there's two things that I think business needs to be aware of about Washington right now. This Employer Free Choice Act, let me tell you, if we ever pass a law in Washington that does away with the secret ballot to organize a union, it will be a death blow to American business. I think we've got that bottled up. The Chamber has been great. Y'all are great advocates. If you're a member of the Chamber out there, the money you spend on lobbying in Washington, Washington Night in Columbia, all these are very important to get your views to our congressional delegation. But climate change, I think, is real. But if we go down the road of a cap and trade system that puts burdens on our business that they can't handle, you're going to take some manufacturing businesses that are hanging by a thread and put them over. You got a lot of utility plants that use coal-fired plants. They need to get away from using coal, but they have to do it in a way that's that can be done with technology. The technology doesn't exist today to change every coal plant into some other form of energy. And if you do that too quickly and you don't give utilities a chance to replace these systems over time, you do it too fast, you're going to have an increase in rates to the ratepayer at a time when business can't afford any more costs. So I worry about climate change in the card check issue.
Well, one other issue that's important, I know, to a lot of our manufacturers and businesses that do international businesses is trade type tariffs and caps and things of that sort. Right. Can you talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen in Washington as far as keeping South Carolina limited or the nation limited in how they produce their goods and where they can be sold and where they can be bought?
Well, protectionism's on the rise. You got high unemployment, you got a lot of job losses, a lot of plants have gone to China. Unions have a big say in democratic politics. Buy American provisions were sort of muted in the stimulus bill. But right now, the climate in Washington is very protectionist, and that's not good over time. I want China to play by the rules, and on intellectual property, they have not been playing by the rules. They manipulate the value of their currency, giving them an advantage over an American manufacturer. By keeping the value of their money artificially low, it reduces the cost of that product on the open market. And you can't let governments manipulate currency when the economy of China is so large. So there are ways that this country should engage with our competitors to make them play by the rules. But I really do worry about, like in the TARP, the money given to banks. Some of the people who work for banks, American banks, are overseas employed. They come through the H-1B visa program. If you can't find somebody with a skill set here in America to do a job, you can bring in an overseas worker to help your business. They're talking about not allowing anybody that took TARP money to be eligible to get H-1B visa, and that would deny our employers access to some of the most talented people in the world, and that means that person with a good talent won't come to America. It will go to another country to work for your competitor. We got to watch this.
Gotcha. Well, Senator, we thank you for being with us. I want to encourage you to continue to represent business interests in Washington. We appreciate all that you do for us. You're a true champion for South Carolinians. I know you're one of the few people that work both sides of the aisle to make sure that fair compromise is reached. And we thank you for everything that you do for our fine state.
Keep it up. Chamber's in good hands. Keep it up.
Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week on CEO Corner to talk about another issue that will be important to the business community. Thank you.